Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. This is the Westward Show. I'm here, Sister Brown. We are broadcasting live from the heart of the community today. We want to talk about what happened when the state takes a life and expects a family to suffer in silence. On December 7th, 2025, we lost a brother in Boston at South Bay at the county HOC. He was a man just like any of us. He was a brother. You know, he had mental health challenges just like myself and many other people from the Boston area. You know, and no matter what path or how hard a path may be, nobody deserves to have their life taken away. When I think about my brother, I think that could have been me. I think that could have been a lot of my friends. I truly believe a story like this could have happened to any of us, which is why I'm very passionate about this. And I'm very humble and grateful to be here with Sister Brown because she's very strong and she's done so much for the community and she's continuously fighting for us. And I'm learning so much from her, honestly, of just like how to navigate the system, how to navigate the culture out here, and what it truly means to bring justice. So I'm truly humble and truly honored to be here with Sister Brown today. Today is definitely, I wanted to deep dive with the community and learn more about you. I wanted to learn more about how we can do to help you. Oh, and tell Brother Anthony if you can, if he's definitely try to call in, but definitely want to hear from you. And
yeah, God is good.
God is good all the
Even
time.
through this, I'm not all big up in this advocate thing, but I did lose my son, and I lost him in the Boston prison here. And my thing now is to let people know who my son was and not let his death go in vain. I'm not a big advocate. I'm learning, just like Brother Ward was saying. I'm learning my way through this thing to fight for justice, mainly justice for those that are in prison and serving time, but also
Right.
being unfortunately abused sometimes by those who have charge over them. And my fight right now is that I want justice for my son. I
Right.
want the sheriff's department to stop policing themselves and stop, covering each other. How can an entity police itself? I don't get it.
Right.
And, they're brothers in arms there. So, right or wrong, they're going to call whatever happens in there a connection with them. So, this is where I am. I don't really know how much
I
you
agree with
want
you
to
because it's just like, honestly, when something happens inside of HOC, Pastor, we just got to call in. So when something happens inside of HOC, or anywhere in the side of the state or in the city, there shouldn't be an investigation done from inside. It's just like if I had a friend who did something, you're most likely probably going to try to cover for your friend. I mean, like, that's just how it is. And for us to have a full, transparent, honest, and like investigation where we don't feel as if there's any like type of foul play being done, it would totally make sense for there to be an independent party coming in and looking at it from both sides that isn't tied to one side based off personal or friendship or some type of work connection. This is why it's very important for us to come together as a community and to make sure that this case is being solved, one, independently, two, with all the facts being presented. I remember you was telling us just last month or 2 months ago, city council pushed for um, then an investigation they push for a piece of paper to get filed in hopes of trying to bring what we've been fighting for, at least what we put on to the petition 7 months ago. Some of them have actually been advocating for some of those points, but yet when they did bring it to city council, I feel as if it was just to say they did something at that point. Because why wouldn't they go the full picture and actually have these officers fired? There were some city councilors that sat there and said, no, these officers deserve to keep their job, even though what happened. And that's what really got me frustrated, because it's just like, how could our tax dollars and our voting powers go to people in power at city council who are going to say no to something? Like, honestly, that's.
What I kind of learned about the sheriff's department is that he's elected official. So therefore, they can't make them do anything. And they're covered by the union as well. They can't tell the sheriff, you know, put this from this is what I've been told, quote unquote, by the district attorney and the powers that be, that the sheriff is their own island.
Mm,
That the sheriff, to me, what they're saying, the sheriff is above the law. So therefore, their guards can do what they want and still be covered by their boss. And I'm still calling out the sheriff department because I had called to speak with them regarding these guards, which I heard that their reign of terror hasn't just started to kill my son Shacoby Kenny or whatever happened. I say what they're trying to figure out now, but to me, an assault happened on my son and he lost his life in that assault. So for me, we have to realize that I finally realized that the sheriff is an island. He's above the governor's office. He's above all those things. So he was the one that was able to remove them from where they were, which he did not do
right.
right away. So called, we know that they say they're not in this place now. But when the incident happened with my son, they were still yet there. Some of them were bringing the witnesses down to see their lawyers. So
Mm.
what its message is that sending to us as a people? Um,
Not
that
not
there's
only
only
just
one
that, there's
island.
there's so many witnesses that was
Yeah.
just on the unit, just like, and
But
for those that aren't familiar with like HOC or Nashua or the Bay, it's like when things like this happen, there's tons, dozens of people who are like eyewitnesses seeing this. So it's for me, it's shocking that it's gone so long and there's been so many eyewitnesses that were there that could testify that the correctional officers had foul play, and there was racism, there was a lot of abuse involved. It's just like it. How can we have so many witnesses there, but yet they're trying to make it seem as if anything else that could have happened is it doesn't make sense to me.
I don't count that as over. I counted that this, especially for um, this case with my son, is that the point being we have to keep an eye on them. We have to say something. I heard South Bay, and I don't know. I live in Springfield, but I heard South Bay reign of terror has been lasting a long time.
Right,
There's over 5 deaths in there, and there's probably more. Right after my son died, they sent the same guards, from what I heard, just saying, sent somebody else to the ER. So our point is this: that laws has to be changed, legislatures has to be changed. That means so somebody can come in and do external investigations on what's going on in those prisons. It's
right,
not just the men's prison, it's the women's prison. And these people, like my son, life is gone. But those guards can go home and kiss their children, send them off to college, get them married. I'll never be able to do that. My only son is gone. So I'm sitting here dealing with the DA's office and all these other things, and the ME's office. I'm not even going to talk about them, which we're yet waiting on this ME report to come out. When is that going to happen?
right,
My son died in December. And all I get now is that we're waiting on this, we're waiting on that. But my major thing here is the fight is that we have to get some accountability. We have
right,
to get some clarity
right,
when these deaths happens. Nobody's above the law.
right.
Not the guards. If the guards are trained better than our police officers on the street, which carry guns, and this is what I heard, they're trained better than them. Why is my son dead now? Whether you were trying to restrain him, however you say you were doing it, why is he dead today? Why is he dead? If you're trained so well, why is he dead today? These are some of the questions we have to ask. Why do they have authority to beat your people while they're in there? No matter what you have done, if you are in prison serving time for something you has done back in the day, they call it incarceration for you to come back out and be a productive person in society. Now it's a business. Now they want this revolving door. They want our people of color, which I can say, to keep revolving in here
Right,
and
free
taking them
labor, free
free
work.
labor, free
They get
whatever
money
they want
all
to
they get
call it.
so much from
Yeah,
us.
but for me,
You're right.
I want some answers for my son's life,
We need some
and
justice.
absolutely, and those that are coming behind him, and those that have already went out that still have not received justice.
Mm.
He's not the first, and if we don't get this together, they won't be the last. Parents will be brokenhearted all over the world. Whether those guards and those sheriff's department and those over there believe these are people. My son was a person. He loved life. He didn't want to die.
Yeah.
He had some mental things that were going on with him at that time, and he shouldn't have been in there anyway. So somehow the cracks were open, and then somehow they unleash these guards to do what they want to do, and they can say whatever they want. We have countless uh, counts of what's happening in South Bay prison. I'm talking about South Bay now because that's what I'm learning. Wherever this is, that's where my son lost his life at. And to those guards that take no regard for somebody else's life, and I don't even know what they did to try to resuscitate. They can keep saying they did this and they did that. I don't know that. So all I know is that he's gone. His life was not he wasn't sick. His life was taken from him. So where do we go from here? What is the fight? Is when are we gonna really stand up and those that we put in office go to bat for us, for our children? I don't know if I'm in the right place, but my son, 32 years old, no children, no wife. I have nothing. My only son is gone. Somebody else's only son, only daughter, uh, is gone. But yeah, so that's where I'm kind of am. I'm upset with that, and I'm upset with the slowness of the Emmys office. I'm upset with them not sure of getting answers.
Right.
You know, so you're always being put off. It's like I understand they're doing what they have to do,
But the
but
process is
yeah,
taking too long. It doesn't really make sense. Like, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I would assume that when you're running these tests, it shouldn't take months. It shouldn't take almost a year for you to run tests to see whether or not foul play was done to someone. Um, it just
I think it's more about and people can correct me on that. It's about who you are and where you are, your position in life, your who you connected to, or for me. So I could be wrong, but this is what I'm thinking here. But I need them to understand.
I truly believe that in a way as well, because I feel as if we came from some type of money or power or some type of fame, they would not be taking this long to let us know like exactly what happened. The Emmys office would have been probably same day, honestly, if I was like someone of that like caliber. Um, so it definitely opens my eyes to it could potentially be like a race thing, potentially just be like they don't see us as a priority, you know. 'Cause it just doesn't make sense because this seems like a really major community issue. Like we're all here for you, and it's just we want this to have like full justice and full accountability as much as possible, but yet the state themselves, these private institutions, and as well as even city council, the people we voted for, it seems as if like we have some people with us, and then we have some people on the fence, and then we have some people way over there that just don't even want to get involved for some reason, and it just shouldn't be that way. Someone says, I'm curious, does she have any organizers advocating on her behalf? Um, yes, I mean, I am here organizing on her behalf. I do have my own organization and my own front that I'm a part of, but there are a few others as well that have been showing face, that have been trying to get involved as much as we can. we're growing every day, and we're always looking for more people to come join with us and come help out Miss Brown, so we're able to bring some justice as quickly as possible. So definitely, if you're interested, or if you know anyone that's interested in getting involved with us, you can get connected with me on Instagram at West Mattapan, and you text me, you let me know exactly what you're trying to get involved with, and I will connect you with Sister Brown, and we can get the ball rolling for sure. Um, I wanted to also bring up that there was a lot of brothers that wrote to you specifically,
Yeah, I did.
from the Bay, but also formerly known as the House of Corrections, Suffolk County. But I like to call it the Bay. You know, I'm from
Yeah.
Boston. It's the culture. But they they told you that Kobe was a good man. He had a good vibe to him. He had just this. He had a gravitating energy that brought people towards him. They wanted to be around him. He was such like a good brother. They could see it in his face and his eyes that like he was somebody they could trust to be around. They feel safe to leave their stuff around him. They feel safe to talk to him, to actually like see him as family more than
Mm.
just somebody else in there. You
They,
know?
yeah, definitely. I got letters from those in prison that actually watched what happened to my son, and they knew him, and my heart just broke reading those letters at that time because I was really going through some things. But when they were expressing what they saw and the helplessness of it, of watching what was happening to my son, and the last words he was saying, y'all pray for me, because my son was raised in a church. He was a drummer. He was a musician. Um, he loved God as well. Um, so for them to write to me what they saw, my mind is going out to them because of the trauma that they received. So most of the time, people will say, okay, you're in prison, so you deserve to be there. This is this. And so your trauma doesn't matter. Your problems doesn't matter. They
Right.
don't understand that some people in those prisons fall on hard times, fall on things that they do that they may not want to do. Some are in there that are innocent. In prison, we have lawyers, we've got doctors,
Right.
um, we've got rocket scientists, we
Right.
got engineers in there.
Right.
They just had not been guided the right way, and
Mm.
people don't take the time out to look at that. And my son loved life, and he wanted to live, but at this time he was going through this confusion with the mental illness, and he shouldn't have been in South Bay. He shouldn't have been there anyway. He wasn't convicted of anything. He was just trying to wherever they shift him from. When he hit that system into this Boston place, he was shifted here, he shifted there, and for the last part of his life, and being in there with those young men together, and it was a full round of people watching this happen.
Yeah.
And you don't get the full view even with the video that they had out. So it's a lot that went on, and for them to see it and then to write me with the passion that they did, and they all signed it, and talking about my son smiled all the time, even when he was down, even when he was in trouble. Everybody thought when he's smiling when he's in trouble that he was being smart. He wasn't. That was his way, his signature thing. Even when he was in trouble, he was the same way, smile. So those letters, they really did me some justice. um Listening to them, but also my heart goes out to them as well, and to their family members that are there, and expressing some of the abuse they saw, and some of the abuse some of them are yet suffering and did suffer at the hands of those guards. So I'm just saying what is being said. I wasn't in a prison, but I do understand that sometimes facts are facts, and that's a fact. Yeah. So those letters, if any of them are listen, I thank you for them, and I thank you for coming forward and being willing to be a part of this investigation, and the part, because it's not at the end yet. It's not over yet. I do believe one thing. I do believe that God's got this one.
Right.
He's got it. So yeah, um, yeah. And as to making them, but I don't want anybody to walk away from anything. I want justice for them, and restoration,
Right.
and a life taken. So
You know, I definitely we definitely need to come together on this, most definitely, because we cannot depend on a system to investigate itself. You know, let's let's put the names on the records of the officers involved. I mean, at least I will. Sergeant Joshua Menolaski, Lieutenant Andres Lopez, CO Pierre, CO Thurno Diallo, CO Christopher Nye, CO Tejan Luis Rosario, CO Nigelo Antonze and Antunes, CO Thomas Tarante. The county hasn't fired these officers that I just named, and I'm sure there's a few others that are probably in the spaces that somehow got away. But there was a lot of officers, as I just named, that was involved, and the county has not fired them, and they have just been reassigned to a different position. Peace and blessings, sister. Peace and blessings. It's great to see you. It's great to see you, sister.
And this is my kind of first time hearing those names of who they were. Yeah, first time of hearing the names of who the officers were that was involved in this. But it's good to know, but it'd be better to put a face to it because brutality.
Honestly, it just it doesn't make sense to me that anyone would vote or would want to keep these officers in at work after what happened. Most definitely. But sister, I wanted to ask you about your organization and what you do.
So we initially started um an initiative called Justice Watch, and basically it consists of a lot of us who have, we've been active in the community, a lot of
Right.
longtime activists such as myself, such as some of the other founders of Justice Watch. And basically we we understand that it's a multifaceted approach.
Right.
This is not something that we can just approach one way. Justice Watch consists of community members, family members, survivors, formerly incarcerated people such as myself, who understand, and have experienced the things that go on inside of, the jails, inside of the prisons. I'm a survivor myself. So it's important to wrap around and understand that there's still people inside waking up every day in this mess.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that. Waking up every day in fear. Um and yeah, we just we're gonna be boots on the ground. Um and and until we get transparency and accountability.
Most definitely.
So
And I also wanted to ask you too. I know you remember that city council first they pushed for like a transparency resolution at city hall. They were trying to look for something like that. And then they also put out like a second amendment trying to say, hey, let's vote on whether or not if these officers should be fired from their positions,
yeah,
And there was a few city councilors
that voted against it.
I
I believe it was what, like 8-3 or
Um,
something. Or what was it?
I
6-3. I don't know.
well, we could find out right now, but it's definitely
Yeah.
Even if they weren't fired at that time, why weren't they sat down? When an officer involved murder or death happens, they're put on suspension or they're taken away from there, but they weren't. They were left to continue on doing their job right after my son lost his life. They came into work the next day.
Yeah.
With no retribution, with not going on any different kind of place. They went right back to where they were.
And so
intimidation. That's what that.
That's another thing. These officers need to be removed. Okay, we know the names. The names. It's been a known thing with who was involved. And as we know, several witness accounts. We all seen the video of what happened. These officers have not missed a beat. They have continued to clock into work every day to date. as well as continuing to commit harm onto others. And I just think it's disgusting how there's been no comment from the mayor. There's been no no movement from the AG's office. It's just I don't know.
And isn't the AG what was it, Andrea Campbell?
Andrea Campbell, yeah.
So she should know firsthand what it's like to have family that you love on the inside.
Exactly.
And the potential of anything that could be happening to them, you know? So it should hit home for her more to want to advocate for this. And any other person of power who's one of color or two just has a family or friend that has been through the system, you know? It just doesn't make sense to me that anybody at least if you grew up in Boston, you gotta know somebody who's been through the system.
Exactly.
So it's just like for you to not to want to fight for something like this it's crazy, you know?
And there is someone working with the DA's office from the AG office as well, working on this case. So it's not a dead issue. It's not a from what I'm being told. And why the autopsy is taking so long. So now I did call the district attorney's office and the advisor, whatever they call the lady, the advocate for me, told me on yesterday that there was 4 more murders in Boston. So that may push your son's autopsy back. Whereas the last time I talked with them, they had to do 1 more blood test, and so I'm confused. So what she's saying is that now, since you had 4 more murders, that after 8 months, after your overtime work there, now you're telling me this is exactly her precise words. And I think that comes from the district attorney or whoever it is that's supposed to be fighting for my son. But this was what was said. So why aren't the this ME's office, we can keep giving them grace, but they give grace to nobody else. Do what you do. Take years. I've heard some of them still out there years into this autopsy thing. I'm not understanding it. So I want to know now, since she quote unquote said it's 4 murders, so your son, this little last blood test or whatever they're calling may set you back even more. How much more set can you get back? Answer the question: what happened, and why did it happen, and how come the ME's office gets to get their rain? From my understanding, it's supposed to be from 60 days to 90 days.
Right.
So we're in overdrive, and to keep getting this quote unquote from the advocate of the DA's office or whatever district attorney's office, for her to say that yesterday kind of threw me for a loop. So making me think, yes, you have 4 murders, but my son is still dead. Right. And you've been working on him these 8 months. So now you're telling me, get ready, it may be another stay. And I don't want to hear, some people say that you don't want to rush them. You want to make sure they get this thing right. You went to school for that. You should know what you're doing and giving all these grace to them. But then in turn, you don't give grace to the family.
Yes.
That's suffering, that's sitting behind waiting for an answer. And you decide to give it when you feel like it. And that's how I feel sometimes, that, I don't know about anybody else, but if you're waiting on something, an autopsy or something, because there's more deaths than just my son. And if they're trained to do these jobs, why is it that your feet are dragging and you need to take more time and you want to make it right? And don't kick up any dirt, because the ME's office is, there. So I don't understand what else to do. Now, I want justice, and it has to come, and our ME's office need to be put on blast sometimes for their slowness in what they're doing. It's not that they're going to overlook something. If you're going to overlook something, you're in the wrong job. You weren't trained well to do your job. So that's my question anyway.
I also wanted to make note that Counselor Culpepper, he did file a resolution in hopes of making sure that the officers involved
Mm-hmm.
were put on administrative leave or are fired of some type of way. Um, and I do know that a resolution and also like a decision made by City Hall is two different things. Because I know it first started off as City Hall coming together and putting something down in the chamber. And when that process goes through, it's entirely different because it's voted with city council on an entire scale. There's some recommendations made, things of that nature. But when a resolution is passed, it's usually brought forth by an individual. So I do know that when city council did say no originally, there was 3 no's of people who was presently there. At least from what I have. If someone want to fact check me later, you can fact check me later. But this is what I'm seeing right now. John Fitzgerald said no.
Yep.
Ed Flynn said no. Aaron Murphy said no.
Of course.
We're gonna have to check in on those 3 people right there.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 people present but didn't say anything. Liz Brendan and Sharon Durkin. We're gonna have to check in on them too. Not present, Gabriela Coletta Zapata. And absent, a sister of the community, Ruzi. We gonna have to check in on you. You're a sister. You're of color, and we're both from Mattapan. And we're like, I don't know what's going on with that one. I don't know how you could have been absent. So it's just like, I appreciate the ones who did say yes. Let's give a shout out to Culpepper. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Christopher. I mean, my fault. My apologies. Shout out to Brian Royal. Shout out to everyone who did say yes, of course. Shout out to all the counselors who did say yes. I appreciate you, D5, D4, D7. You know, you guys definitely showed out for sure. But there's definitely needs to be some unity amongst city council here, because it doesn't make sense that some people said no, but it also doesn't make sense to me that some people could choose not to be in the room. Because it's just like, if my money is going to taxes, if y'all taking money out my check, and I'm really mad about how much money y'all take out my check, and if I gotta vote every 2 years for a city councilor just for y'all to do something that I don't want you to do, I'm not gonna vote for you anymore. So it don't make sense to me how some of these people are still in power, and it's like they're not doing what we're asking them to do. It's just like, this is a clear example of why you guys need to be more active at the voting polls next year and this year. There should be no reason why I'm not seeing any people around my ages, 18 to 25, 25 to 30. I don't understand why there's no young people out here voting. Because if there is more people out here voting, situations like this would already have been solved in the first like 30, 60 days. Because honestly, what's going on right now? It's just like, even just like for some of the processes we want done within the justice, aka 1, getting these officers fired, 2, making sure that the civil side and the criminal side actually go forward, and if any type of resolution from the city that wants to be done and just honoring this sister right here, this mother, I would love that to happen as well. You know, but it's just like, this whole process is taking so long, and it's not making any sense to me.
But what you just said, that some of them didn't even take the time to show up in the
Right.
room. That's a big one.
Yeah,
That's a big one. Voting or whatever you're doing in the room, but not to show up in a room where you were voted into a place and you take all that time. And that gets me. So now it's even more so. I understand, in order for things to change, our leaders, the ones that we put in place, the ones that, like you were talking about, have to come forward and say something and do their job, to push for these things. And like you said, kudos to the ones that are doing it, but ones that are lacking, pick up the slack. Your constituents or your voters need you to be there. And this issue is a prominent issue, because we know that a lot of people are incarcerated.
Right. And if this could happen to our brother here, if this could happen to Kobe, this could happen to anybody right here. That's exactly why I'm so passionate about this, because this could happen to me. This could happen to sister right here. This could happen to anybody who has either had experience being at the Bay, being at Nashville, being anywhere, or even just walking down the street. Because this is a an officer versus the people issue once again, because it's just, if it was truly the people with the people, then this wouldn't have been taking so long. There would have been officers who would have said, hey, what you did is wrong, or have at least stepped in when they seen it going in the wrong direction, saying, hey, what's going on here?
Right.
So this, to me, honestly, there's just so much foul play that needs to be addressed. From the city council side, I don't know how it's allowed that someone could not be there. And if somebody isn't there, then you should just bring it to next week when everybody is there, because it doesn't make sense how someone could say, oh, I'm not here, or I'm not gonna vote, or I'm gonna say no. And if someone says no to something like this, I want an explanation of why you're saying no. I want a full explanation.
Thank you. And more than anything, the silence is crazy.
That's
from the people that we put into office. Like, they really need to step up. Like, it still blows my mind, the silence, the people that are quiet. And you have a few heads that are speaking up, but it seems to be a direct connection from the Suffolk County House of Correction into the Boston Police,
right,
the ME's office. I learned a little while ago that in Massachusetts, I think we may be the only state could connect. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when there's an autopsy done, the Boston Police is present.
Absolutely right. Yes,
in the room. I do believe we're the only state, and it's like, where are we getting transparent? We need an independent investigation outside of the Boston Police. Exactly. Outside, we don't need them to investigate themselves. We already know, especially being Black people, we know how that goes wrong in from every angle. And that's a lot about we have to apply this pressure to people in city council. Like, it's disgusting. You got to say that you're not coming to work today. And
I think that is another good point about your representatives too, because I live in Springfield. I have representatives there that were here and hearing about my son. And the sad thing about that is they did reach out, but months later.
Right.
And not realizing that my son is a resident of Springfield, Massachusetts, born and raised in that city.
Right.
And that crushed me for a minute there. Wondering, this is a Massachusetts state issue.
Right.
It's not just Springfield, Boston. It's a Massachusetts state issue. I don't know about any other places, but our justice system, our sheriff's department, the way they restrain people, all these things has to change and make a difference in the lives of those that are incarcerated. And that comes from, now I know, coming from the ones we put in office. They're the ones that have to make this noise. They're the ones that have to be more aggressive on that.
Right.
That's a big thing for me with this happening. I think that would help a lot of us, and not just them, but us that go to the voting polls, like you said. Get those in office that you know and feel that it is ready for the job. That is not gonna fall on whatever side they want to fall on, but the side of justice, the side of right.
Right.
That's where they need to start falling on. But sometimes we know it's about that power, that money, that it is a true fact. And that's what begins to happen. It's who you know and what favors can I do for you. And in between there's sacrifice. And I don't want my son to be a sacrifice or just left by the wayside. Answers has to come forth. I guess I'm right in that. I know I'm right in that. It has to come forth for him and for those that are coming behind him. Yeah.
And can we talk about the fact that your son was not supposed to be there?
Correct.
Shacoby was not supposed to be in South Bay. He should have been in Bridgewater. I don't know if you want to touch on that, because no one can tell that story.
I have always from the time he started getting involved with this system here, and I'm sure it's documented. I've advocated for my son to get help in those prisons, and this very last time he went, they picked him up here in Springfield and brought him back here because he couldn't get back for a something that happened in the prison with another guard. But at that time, my son's mental state had started deteriorating even more. So when it did deteriorate, and the last time they let him out, they let him out with no shoes, no coat, no phone, no ID. That's another thing. You can't get on the bus if you don't have an ID. I couldn't even get my son home because I didn't have a car. So, and he was already in a manic state. Let him go. He was lost in Boston for over 2 to 3 weeks, and I started to call to try to get a missing person. But the day before, they called me from Nash Street and said my son, was in the whatever metro system, and I tell you, they whatever happened in there, he was sleeping there because he couldn't get. He didn't have a phone, couldn't do nothing, get his mindset together. And the last words the police officers said that my son said to them, "Why don't you just shoot me?" He was lost. He was in a state of panic. And yet they still sent him there no matter how many times I called the prison, which I did. They say, "Well, where can can I come see my son?" And they say, "Well, you have to be on this registered list. You got to be on this list." Well, I know his mindset was not at a place there. And he'd been out to Bridgewater more than several, 6 or 7 times. And the last one, he had to get a independent
Approval.
psychiatrist. And at that same time, my son would have been in court on the 18th, and he was proven 2 times not able to stand trial because of his mental illnesses. But that still was not taken into consideration at all. They kept pushing him back in there and kept pushing him back in there. And then I don't know how he got to South Bay, jail, wherever that was, from Nash Street. I don't know any of that, but I do know my son. They have to really focus on these mental illnesses, and that the guards should be trained in it, and they weren't, because I know they couldn't have understood. But they even the prisoners seen some of his, he wasn't aggressive at that time, none of that, unless he was feeling threatened or anything of that sort. But that's where his mindset was. He wasn't in his right mind. He lost his life. And the day that he lost his life, his lawyer, I was going out of the uh the parking space, going in to see my son for the last time. The lawyer called and said, "Oh, we got, they did find him not competent to stand trial." And I told the lawyer right then, I said, "My son is dead." He didn't even know my son was in South Bay, dead, in the hospital, dead. And I told him that then, and he was telling me, "Okay, you go to court on the 18th." So by the time he was dead and gone in that hospital. And the thing about for me too is when I tried to see my son, I rode up there all night after surgery, and my son was dead then, and they know it. They wouldn't allow me to see my son because, quote unquote, he's still in the custody of South Bay Prison.
That's crazy.
And then sent me home.
What?
He wouldn't allow me to see him at all. Sent me home. On my way home, I get a call from
You came from Springfield to Boston, and they told you no?
They told me no. My cousin Robert went with me. He was a retired DEA agent. And he told him, he said, "Now I brought my cousin up here. Can we possibly see your son? He's my son's dead, and you're trying to act like I can't." And he said, "No." They told him, "No, he's still in police custody. I could not see my son." Period. So that's another thing for me. And then on the way home, I get a call from this lady with one name and tell me, "Well, if you want to see your son." I said, "Well, I'm on my way home," because they told me I couldn't see him. This is the thing. And she told me, "You want to see your son? You got to come back here." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what happened?" "Well, we're trying to figure that out." But this is her tone. And I said to her, "So I'm turning around and coming back." "Well, yeah, you should do that." Exact words. I'm not taking anything out. One thing about me, if I hear you say something, I'm gonna rehearse it to you, and that's what she said. So yeah,
That's
my
crazy.
son had those things, and they didn't do anything about it. You could send them to Bridgewater, and one lawyer told me that, yeah, they'll send him to Bridgewater, but they'll come back with the same thing. He's capable, and it was not a true statement. So yeah.
because they have their own doctors up in there saying whatever.
Mhm.
And it's just like the whole system. It sounds like it's like a multi-leveled like um accountability issue, but also just like injustice being played here. You know, it's just it doesn't make sense to me why one they wouldn't let you see your son, two why they wouldn't just send him to Bridgewater since he already has like a history of being in Bridgewater. It would make more sense to send him to some type of either there or just a regular mental health facility because I see it all the time. I mean, at least from my own experience, that brothers and sisters do just go to mental health facilities regardless of if they're coming straight from like um some type of hold or incarceration. They're still allowed to go to just like specific mental health facilities, Bridgewater being one of them. But there's also so many in the community that there needs to be more. Honestly, it just doesn't make sense how he wasn't allowed to easily have just been granted access into the space since he has history being there, and that's what works best. Um, and then also you're telling me that it's just like the Emmy's office isn't giving us the full report, the autopsy of what we need.
Any
Um,
report.
any report, honestly. It's the evidence here for this, the on the state side and in the court side, or even on the doctor's side. It's like everybody is delaying giving us evidence, and I feel as if due processings here isn't being met. Um, and there's definitely some questions there on a lawyer's side that I would like to ask right now.
Oh yes.
Because it's not making sense on just like on a justice side, you know, how something like this could be going on so long, and there got to be some type of something you could file in the courtroom that could
Yes.
show like, hey, the community's advocating for this. We have a lot of people involved on just like the petition side to the city council to even just city council back in Springfield. We got politicians and community leaders in Springfield across the whole state.
Mm.
Across the whole state wants to know what's going on with this. The entirety of Massachusetts. So it's just what is keeping them so long when there's so many people that is advocating for this, are in support of you, and want the same things that you want.
Yeah, my lawyer is Anthony Ellison. So some of those.
Attorney Anthony Ellison.
How you doing? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Well, I wanted to ask you, just this situation. Well, the loss of our brother here has it's been going on this whole entire us fighting for justice, trying to come together and get evidence. Where are we in per se to reaching a resolution? And also another question, if not that one, what's taking so long, so many of these parties to bring us some evidence, you know? Because it's been almost going on 8 months, almost to a year. And I've never seen personally from other brothers and sisters that I helped in like the courtrooms, I've never seen a case where it's been 8 to 9 months and there's no evidence on the table by now. I mean, I'm speaking from a personal experience.
Mm.
I'm speaking from being around friends and family. I've never been in a courtroom where they haven't had evidence and it's been 8 to 9 months. So I just want to know like what's the next step from that?
Well, I think everybody has to understand that there are different legal tracks going on. Starting with the first track, that being a Suffolk County District Attorney's grand jury investigation. So it's my understanding that evidence is being presented before a Suffolk County grand jury. That's been going on for about maybe a month or two, from what I understand and what I've been told.
Now,
So there's that. That's what we would
is there
call
anything
the
you could
track.
file? Is there anything you could file to expedite the process of them not giving us evidence as quickly as they should have?
So I'm trying to get there, but the answer is there something I can file? Well, I've already filed a Freedom of Information Act information. I've gathered several medical records on my own. So in terms of the track that I'm involved in directly, that would be the civil litigation track. So that's the pursuit of a civil rights claim against these officers. And again, that's the track I'm on now. I've gotten a substantial amount of information in terms of discovery. We've identified the name of the witnesses. We've identified the name of the officers. We've identified. We've
Is there a
put
way
them
to
on
make your
notice
voice
that.
louder so people
Go
can hear
ahead.
it on the phone?
Go ahead.
You continue.
Okay, so I mean, I guess in answering your question, yes, there are papers that I have filed and that I will continue to file in order to get the information needed.
I'll just say what as he said. He said there are papers that he can file to make sure that this process can be done. He has filed. You said a freedom of what is it? Freedom of speech.
Freedom of information, a
Freedom of
FOIA
information
request.
A freedom of information request in order to make sure that the information is being brought to us. And another thing that the lawyer also said is that you do have some type of documentation from like a doctor of some sort or someone that had done some type of like, or do you not have that?
What we do have is we have Shacoby's medical records from when he arrived at the emergency room.
Okay. Lord, one more question, brother. One more question. So if we have that and all that, what can we do as a community? Because we're coming short to the end of the show here. So I want to get to what can we do as a community